Hi, Shalom everyone. Chodesh Tov Brach. What a place to be, in a bagel place, getting something milky, because this happens to be the Hebrew month of Sivan, the month of Shavuot, a month where we have milky products, dairy products. So what a time place I thought it would be. Have a small milky meal and share over some thoughts with regards to the new Hebrew month over here. Fantastic month of Sivan over here, friends. And as we're doing every single month, we give a nice tidbit, a nice different idea. So I'll give a more of an extended video within regards to this phenomenal month that we are actually in at the moment. So obviously it's a month, as we all know, features a festival of Shavuot. It's actually the third month of the calendar if you count it from Nisan. Some thoughts would be that you count the month from Nisan, you start the calendar. Some would say from Tishrei, Now, in the month of Sivan, obviously, we're going to celebrate Shavuot, which is one of the Shalosh Regalim, commemorating that the Torah was given by God to the Jewish people at Har Sinai, Mount Sinai. This was more than 3,300 years ago. Now, obviously, every year on the holiday of Shavuot, we renew our acceptance of God's gift, the ultimate gift, the Torah itself. And Hashem, it's as if we are like receiving it again in of itself. Now, it's actually interesting. Rosh Chodesh Sivan is distinguished as a day on which Jewish people arrived and camped before the mountain of Sinai, respectively. Now, the Torah describes this with a phrase. This actually comes from Parshat Yitro. Israel camped before the mountain, where there's this specific verb stating Vayichan. This word Vayichan means camped. Over here, it is stated in the singular form. In contrast to other verbs in the narrative, this describes how the entire people camped as one person with one heart. It's a famous phrase which many people use, and one of the main symbols, let's just say, of unity, achdut, in the Torah. This naturally would pave the way for the giving of the Torah, which obviously is celebrated on Shavuot. In the diaspora, it's 2 days. Obviously, in Israel, it's only 1 day, and it begins on sundown at the end of 5th of Sivan, lasts until nightfall of the 6th of Sivan. Obviously, 7th of Sivan if you are outside of land in Israel, as we stated before. Now, what does the word Shavuot mean in of itself? It means weeks in English. It marks the completion of a 7-week counting period between Pesach and obviously Shavuot, naturally, 7 weeks. And naturally, every Shabbat we're going to do Pirkei Avot, complete the 6 parts of the Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers, naturally. Now, the mitzvah to count each of the 49 days between Pesach and Shavuot is naturally known as Sfirat Omer. So Sfirat Omer naturally spans between 3 months, between Nisan, Iyar, and obviously the start of Sivan, respectively. It's a period, obviously, Sfirat Omer, of introspection, self-refinement in of itself, as we've spoken about. I recommend everyone to watch the videos we did that. And we obviously every day prepare ourselves to renew and to receive the Torah on the day of Shavuot. Each day of counting represents obviously another, let's just say, madrega, a step towards this amazing spiritual journey. The giving of the Torah was a very, very spiritual event, one that obviously touches the soul of every person. As we did a video last year by Canopy, if you can recollect, for Shavuot, our sages, the rabbis, compared the giving of the Torah to a wedding between God and the Jewish people. Now, Shavuot can also be translated as oaths, for on this day God swore, let's say, eternal devotion to us, and we in turn plunged everlasting loyalty to him. Now, there's a few tidbits. Naturally, Sivan is the 3rd month in the Jewish calendar, obviously, when you count it from the time period of Nisan, of the Exodus. But if you count it from Tishrei, it will be the 9th month. It's actually interesting. This month in itself is mentioned. It actually originates from the Babylonian exile. And we will recount it in the Megillat Esther about the month of Sivan, when we read of a royal communication between the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies, which was issued on the 23rd day of the 3rd month. Naturally, that was Sivan, obviously. Obviously, we know that on the 1st day of the 3rd month, we stated before, that the Avot, the forefathers, would actually descend upon the mountain and communicated the 10 commandments, naturally. Obviously, the Torah contains 3 parts, as we know. The Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, prophets, and the writings in Torah. The Jewish nation has 3 tiers: Kohen, Levites, and the Israelites. So obviously, naturally, we know that Moshe Rabbeinu was the 3rd child following Miriam and Aaron, and it was the 3rd day since God had commanded the men and women to separate in anticipation, obviously, of the great event. Another interesting thing is wheat is harvested in the month. Yeah, sorry, the internet connection's not the best. So wheat is harvested in this month of Sivan. In Israel, crops grow through the rainy winter season, as we know. So by the time of Sivan, they're ready for harvesting. Obviously, we know that in ancient periods, 2 wheat loaves made from fresh grain were offered in the Bet HaMikdash on Shavuot. It was also at this time that people would begin to bring, let's just say, Bikurim, the first fruits, their first choicest fruits and grains, obviously to thank God for all the bounty He has given. Now, obviously, the zodiac sign of Sivan is Gemini, or Gimini, which is known as twins. Following Aries and Tauros, which is a ram and an ox, the Gemini is a twins, or Teomim, as we say in Hebrew. It is considered the first zodiac sign that is human. Obviously, I think the other one is Virgo, which is a virgin. The great rabbis will explain actually over here that this is appropriate for a month when we receive the Torah, as only a human can, let's say, clap and dance for joy over these great events respectively. It's actually interesting. Obviously, this being the third month is a composite of the first 2 months, because let's say this is associated also with Yaakov, with Jacob, this month is. Why? Because its connection to Jacob, who perfected, let's say, and synthesized the paths of Abraham and Yitzhak, who would precede them. And of course, Yaakov was a twin of the, let's say, the terrible brother Esau, who took the 2 following months of Tammuz and Av, which obviously was associated with the destruction of the Bet HaMikdashes respectively at that point in time. Obviously, unfortunately, there was tragedies which occur all over the Jewish world, especially in the month of Sivan. I think in 1096, obviously, it was the first days of the month. There was mobs of frenzied crusaders murdered Jewish people in Worms, in Mainz, and other, let's say, those cities in Rhenish, I think, respectively. 1171 sort of massacre of the Jews in Blois in France. Obviously, there was a blood libel at that point in time, and Rabbeinu Tam would declare the 20th of Sivan a fast day. Obviously, I think it's very well known that it was reinforced. I think many thousands of German Jews were butchered during the 1289 Rindfleisch massacre, I think in the month of Sivan in that year. And also, I think it became a memorial also for the victims of the 1648 Cossack riots, which also, I think, in Yiddish is known as Tach de Vetat. Many of whom met their deaths at the time of year. Today, this fast is only observed by Hasidic communities, let's just say, which is interestingly enough also. Okay, so a few other things you could relate over for this month. The first of